So this is just a small recording, a part of the bigger recording. Everything is going to YouTube now, so there's no need to have any kind of subscription or anything like that. I am phasing subscriptions out of my life, so I guess I'm going to help phase it out of everyone else's as well. So I'm going to switch to the whiteboard, and just so I can, it's almost like it's a classroom. Hi, Carly. We got Carly, Shayna, Ida, and it's top of the hour, so I'm sure more folks are on the way.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, you too.
I hope everyone's not too freezing. It's really, really freezing here.
It's cold here too.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's freezing. Hopefully not too bad though. All right, so one of the things I'm going to talk about, so this week we're going to be talking about the general nature of attention. So we're getting right back to square one. In 2021, we have 52 weeks, 52 study sessions, and then we have a group study where we talk about how our practice is actually going. And we'll be doing that all year. So we have 52 different weeks, 52 different topics, and it delivers T, the complete practice. So we're going to talk about 13 core aspects to the first section of T, and the first section is basic alignment. But one thing that I wanted to talk about with the nature of attention is that attention is never force or trying to control. What I mean by that is this entire practice is deliberately pointing our attention. So when I place my attention on shadows, or when I place my attention on my body, when I place my attention on my throat when I talk, I am pointing my attention to that area in space and time, or in my body, or somewhere around me, because I'm using sensory perception to engage the world around me. That's what this entire practice of attention is. But the key aspect is that to do this, to go back to what we call the second ring of power, and I'll explain all that eventually, I'm sure, but to point back to the present moment using our deliberate attention is never an exercise of force. It can feel a little bit difficult in the beginning because we're not used to doing it. So just like anything that we've never really done much of before, it can be a learning curve. We have to figure out how to do this and then do this. So learning to deliberately intend your point of attention all throughout the day, forgetting and remembering and going back to our points of attention, or eventually holding a point of attention as a background as you do everything else, that is never an exercise of force. You are not controlling your attention because there is no subject and there is no object. So, Ida, since the day you were born, you have been intimately connected to your attention. You are that attention. You have never been separated from it. Even if you're unconsciously engaging the moment, sort of fumbling about, just doing whatever we've been habitually conditioned and I'll put in air quotes, programmed to do, you're still paying attention to it, even though the attention isn't deliberate. So when you're dreaming, you're paying attention to your dream. When you're talking to yourself, you're paying attention to that voice. Maybe when someone's talking to you, you're paying attention to their voice. You're somehow paying attention in every waking moment of your entire life experience. So you have never had a moment really when you've been separated from this attention outside of dreamless sleep. But in dreamless sleep, there's no time, there's no causality. So we just wake up. We went to sleep, it was dreamless, and then we just woke up. And that's kind of like when we're sleeping and 8 hours feels like 15 minutes or 5 seconds. Does that make sense? Any questions about that, Ida, Shayna, or Carly? Attention is never force. So Ida, when we're talking about doing our practice throughout the day, when we feel like our mind has gone back towards unconscious habits, when we feel like we're starting to go away from the practice, to reconnect and to deliberately intend our chosen point of attention is never an act of trying to control or force. You cannot control your attention because you are it. It's just choosing where to go. It's just choosing the direction that you want this attention to flow, because attention is directional. That's why we talk about it that way. So does that make sense? Are there any questions about the nature of attention? Ida says it makes sense in chat. Okay. Carly says it makes sense. Shayna, does that make sense, that you are never exercising force or attempting to control by deliberately choosing your intended point of attention? And that's what this entire practice is about. So the third pillar, so there's 3 pillars in the transcendental embodiment approach. The third pillar is to deliberately engage the present moment using deliberate points of attention. And one of the most key features about that, that's the entire practice. Essentially, we get into details about where we can place our attention, because that's the practice. We want to develop that. But the simple act of choosing where your focused attention is and where it's placed into the now moment is never, ever, no matter the weather, ever, 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 an exercise of force or trying to control. There's no subject, there's no object. We are attention itself. We have always been attention. Every waking moment of our experience, we have been that attention, and that attention has always been going somewhere directionally. We're just simply choosing to step into the present moment and direct that flashlight where we want it to be on purpose. And it's a process, and we have to learn, and sometimes it doesn't feel easy, and sometimes that can be confused. When something doesn't feel super easy, the first thing we want to say is, oh, it's force. No, we're just not used to doing it. We've never really done it before, so it doesn't feel natural yet. But we came into this world doing it, so it is nothing but natural. So directing your attention, choosing tricks of attention, choosing points of attention all throughout the day as a process of forgetting and remembering, or even building a type of superimposed or background trick of attention. It's never an exercise of force or trying to control.